Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
You hit record?
I'm not stopping it this time.
This is John Summerall, head football coach at Troy. You're listening to the FunBelt podcast.
If you didn't know before, now you know why they call this the FunBelt.
Very excited about the Sun Belt.
You know, while other conferences have been breaking up, our conference has become stronger.
The state of Sunbelt football is the strongest in our history.
I saw FunBelt Conference, and I'm like, I don't know what this is. I got to join the show. This sounds a lot of fun.
FunBelt podcast listeners, listen up. This is our 100th broadcast. 100 perfect bits of analysis, penetrating insight from your FunBelt PC gang of three with me. Dusty Thibodeaux from the Warhawk Report, Shane Mettlen from the Daily News Record. My name's Jeremy Harper. I'm from howraiser.com. Gentlemen, congratulations. 100 episodes. Wow, that means we can get syndicated, right?
And 99% of the time, we're going to record the entire episode.
Yes, we have a 99% success rate for hitting the record button. Not everybody can say
That's pretty good.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you and good night.
Our apologies to the Monarchists. Man, we had a great interview with those guys, man.
Yeah,
we did.
It was possibly the most revealing, insightful, thoughtful interview that we've ever done on PC Podcast. Just had a little bit of a snafu pressing the old record button. We'll have them back, right? They'll come back. We'll get them again.
That is their incentive to go out and win.
We need to revisit that conversation and let them reveal more of the real Ricky Ronnie that we don't see in post-game press conferences.
Yeah, we got the inside scoop of Ricky.
Yeah, it's a shame, but
and I'm sure OD is going to come up with another big win this year, and we can bring him back on, and they can brag about that, and that'd be great. But
yeah,
just didn't get it this time. You know what? It's like when you're a batter and you hit 300, I mean, that means 7 out of 10 times you're striking out or getting out, right? And we're batting 990, right? That's pretty good.
And we're part of the Believe Network.
Yes, part of the Believe Network company, man. But yeah, 100 episodes. Congratulations. A true testimony to our wherewithal in this fierce podcasting landscape. Speaking of fierce landscapes, Sunbelt Soccer, where are we, Dusty Thibodeaux?
We still have two teams.
Uh-huh.
They're not flawless, but they're not notching losses there. With Old Dominion, no surprise, 5-0-2, leading the East and the West. South Alabama, 7-0-1. Jeremy, your beloved Red Wolves struggling on the pitch as much as they are on the gridiron, 2-3-1, while the Warhawks 4-1-2 in second place.
All right.
James Madison sitting as perfectly at 500 as you could, 3-2-3.
All right. I'm actually looking forward to the soccer. Yes, Arkansas State's not playing as well as they have in the past, but they're kind of a young team. A little scrappy. They don't score a whole lot of goals. We'll see.
Arkansas State's a bowling school anyway.
We really are. You know, they in the game against Memphis, they brought down the bowling team and they received the accolades they deserved from the adoring fans. Made me very excited to see the bowling season start.
My last trip to good old Monroe, I have to go through Nacogdoches, Texas, home of SFA, and every time I go through there, I chuckle thinking of the bowling drama that went on there.
Nothing like a bowling sex scandal. I love it. It's the sexiest of sex scandals. Well, that was our soccer highlight, but I believe we have some volleyball news that we want to expand on. Thibs?
We're 1 week away from the start of Sunbelt Conference action. App State, the team to beat not only in the Sunbelt at a perfect 9-0, they're one of only 14 teams amongst the NCAA D1 ranks, still flawless.
Nice.
So always good to see that. Georgia Southern, one slip up, 8-1. Everyone else at least 2 losses. Poor T-Roy, 1-7 on the year.
Troy, 1-7. Wow.
I'll throw it out there too that you got Texas State, James Madison, been getting votes in the top 25 poll. Talked to Keith Gill the other day. He's excited about volleyball and their opportunity to maybe get 2 teams into the NCAA tournament. They just missed on it last year. Texas State was one of the last ones out. Right now, JMU and Texas State both have some very quality wins and tough schedules. That at-large bid might be a real possibility for volleyball this year.
Now, is it true, Shane Mettlen, that James Madison has built a volleyball-only facility and it's kind of cool?
It is.
Okay. I thought
they do have offices for other sports in there, but it's a volleyball-specific arena. It's pretty cool.
Speaking of cool and JMU, very disheartened to learn that our man Noah Fleischman has moved on from JMU, taking a position covering North Carolina State, rather. What are we going to do without Noah Fleischman? He was our North Star, gentlemen.
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to have him back at some point.
Yeah.
Some Sunbelt team will play NC State in something, and we'll call upon Noah.
Well, I believe Mac Jones? Is it Mac Jones? Who's the guy from North Carolina?
Mac Brown.
Mac Brown.
He's only been coaching for like 50 years.
Yeah, but I don't pay attention to guys outside of the Sun Belt. I really don't. But Mac Brown was like, "Hey, man, we're not going to play Appalachian State anymore. Maybe it's North Carolina State's turn." So maybe that's what's going to happen. And then we'd have a good excuse to have Noah on the show. We could talk about Appalachian State versus North Carolina State.
That might be on a future schedule already.
Speaking of the schedule, guys, do you know what it's time for? It's the most exciting part of the week.
Before we get into it, though, Jeremy.
Oh, you want to say something else? Okay.
I do.
All right.
Noah leaves just in time for James Madison to take over the top spot of our FunBelt 5 weekly poll that we release every week on the good old X platform. Number 2 team this week, Marshall. The Thunder Herd sitting at 2-0. They get a bye, but that was a huge win for the league over East Carolina. We'll preview that East Carolina gets some more Sunbelt action this upcoming week. Georgia Southern, another 2-0 team, another big win over American, going and taking care of UAB. The Warhawks, the other 2-0 team, the only undefeated team in the West there, Jeremy. They're coming in at number 4. And number 5, the one that gave us the most grief, that there was the most, are you serious? The Monarchs, left for dead, but the Monarchs are able to cook up that 1-0 win in Sunbelt Conference action, downing the Cajuns in week 2.
We gave the Monarchs and ODU so much shit. Talked about how terrible they were. They're going to be the worst team in the Sun Belt, certainly the worst team in the East. And now, they've got this quarterback from Fordham. Where the hell did this guy come from? And now ODU's like flexing.
We're all Monarchs.
Yeah. We should be ashamed of ourselves. I'm not, but we should be.
I'm not overreacting about 1 week too much quite yet.
I get it.
But it was impressive.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I get it. All right, now do I have permission to introduce the most exciting moment of the week? Dusty Thibodeaux, do I have that permission now?
You already gave it away. It was episode 100. Or is there something else?
Yes, there's something else. It's a little something I like to call second and short. And see, I put a gong on that. So that makes it really dramatic. So it's like second and short. Boom. And it's very dramatic, right?
Yeah. Yes, very much so.
Guys, you know how second and short works. What, Shane? What?
I was going to say, do you do the gong after each, 2 minutes?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I try. I try to get that gong in there. It's my favorite sound effect.
We don't actually time it anymore, do we?
It's all in my head. It's all right here, the internal clock. So you guys are still constrained to 2 minutes analyzing these teams, but the clock is right here in the old noggin. So I don't have it out. Just know for sure that's about 2 minutes. It's anywhere between a minute 15 and 5 minutes. That's really what it is. So maybe that's all right. You know how second and short works. We go through the schedule for the week. If it's a Sunbelt West team, Thibs goes first. If it's a Sunbelt East team, Shane goes first. We break it down. I do a little intro. And are you guys ready for second and short?
Oh, yes.
All right. First game up, guys, on the Big Ten Network. This could be a pretty good. This could be a pretty good game. I feel like there's an upset in the making here because the home team I don't think is playing very well. Georgia Southern at Wisconsin, 11 a.m. Big Ten Network. Badgers are a 19-point favorite, but Davis Brin, Sunbelt Offensive Player of the Week, is doing a great job at Georgia Southern. They're going to do the cheese raid up in Madison. I got to throw it to you, Shane. Is this an upset that we should be looking at, or am I just smelling bad cheese?
I mean, like we said on the last episode, Georgia Southern's been the most impressive team so far. Like, I'm still not convinced if they're the best, but they've performed the best so far. Clay Helton, 1-0 against the Big Ten at Georgia Southern. I think they've got a shot in this one. I mean, Wisconsin's better than Nebraska, but
yes,
it's a team that shouldn't be like very intimidated by going into a huge stadium and seeing lots of red. We'll put it that way.
Absolutely. Thibs, what do you think?
I like the Eagles on the points, but I think that Wisconsin just gets it done. I have kind of that same feeling going into the Nebraska game that we saw last year, though, where we didn't really give them much of a shot. They obviously shocked the world. They dominated the game. It could happen again, and it wouldn't surprise me, but I definitely like the Eagles to cover that 19-point.
See, Thibs, here's what I think. I think if the Eagles pull off the upset, you've got to commit to our listeners that you will eat an entire wheel of cheese on Tuesday.
Considering we don't have video for the show, sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can fake it. Nobody has to know.
It could be like a small wheel of brie or something.
Yeah. I'm talking hard cheddar, man. I'm talking about you don't take a poop for like 2 weeks afterwards. It's just you're just clogged. Next game. I don't. This could be another upset. I don't know because suddenly Old Dominion's just the best team in the Sun Belt. Wake Forest at Old Dominion. At Old Dominion, guys. 11 a.m. ESPN2. The Deacons, 13.5-point favorites. The Monarchs, as we learned in that interview that we didn't record, they've got the new offensive coordinator. Everybody's excited about the offensive coordinator. Everybody's excited about the quarterback that's come in. Demon Deacons, they have a very well-balanced offense, and they're scoring better than 35 points a game. I don't know if ODU has the defense to repel such an offense. What do you think, Shane?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Wake Forest is pretty decent. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. I mean, I'm not world beaters, not necessarily ACC champions or anything, but I think they're like a solid going to a bowl ACC team. They've got a good quarterback. Mitch Griffiths happens to be older brother of James Madison, third string quarterback Brett Griffiths, who transferred from Wake Forest because he didn't want to compete with his brother for the job. But yeah,
this is the kind of inside information we need. Thank you, Shane.
Yes, of course. I'm getting off on a tangent, but I think it'll be a competitive game, but I think Wake Forest might just be a little too good for ODU.
Thibs, do you feel the same way, or do you feel like there might be some Monarch magic?
Never count out the Monarchs. We saw that last week where we thought they were dead. But this is a 2-0 Wake Forest team that's already beaten Vanderbilt. And so you got to think that they have a little bit of seasoning under their belt. They're ready to go. Nothing surprises me anymore, but I think this is Demon Deacons. They're going to move to 3-0.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to say that without the monarchists presence, because they were big on this game, guys. They were ready. They were ready to beat those Demon Deacons. So after those 11 o'clock game, guys, we got to wait till 2:30 until the next game. East Carolina, who we just saw at Appalachian State. Ooh, tough place to play it. Boone, 2:30 p.m., ESPN Plus. The Mountaineers are given the 9.5-point favorite. Is this when the Mountaineers just finally kind of wake up? You know, they've been sleepwalking a little bit. Is this when the Mountaineers and Sean Clark finally got to get it together and they beat up on the Pirates some? Shane, what do you think?
I think App State's going to win, and I think if they get rolling, they're not going to take their foot off the gas against. This is a rivalry. I mean, it's the East versus West North Carolina rivalry to, the quote unquote mid majors of the state where there's 4 ACC teams, and they're the next kind of in line as far as like getting the attention in North Carolina. So it's a big deal for these programs, and I think App State at home is going to take care of business in this one.
Hibbs, the Mountaineers, they're coming off that really tough overtime loss to North Carolina. Do you think they just take the frustration out on the Pirates?
I think so, and I think that East Carolina showed last week when they were playing Marshall. They're just not the same East Carolina of old. I think this is the year where they're going to take their lumps, especially from the Sun Belt teams, and App State, Sean Clark get the big in-state win and another big one over the American for the good old Fun Belt.
I think if Marshall's putting up 31 on ECU, then App State's going to put up 40.
Okay, all right. That statement is pregnant with hidden meaning. I love it. Half an hour later, maybe the biggest game of the whole year, right here, Warhawks at Texas A&M. 3 p.m., SEC Network. The Aggies, all right, they're favored, 36.5 points. But let me tell you something. The Sun Belt has a history of embarrassing Texas A&M, starting in 2008 with the Red Wolves pulling off an upset, and then last year with the Mountaineers taking care of business against the Aggies. Do the Warhawks have a chance, Thibodeaux?
No way.
Oh,
because the Aggies have been really good at stopping the run, and the run is the only offense the Warhawks have really had.
Yeah.
I don't see where this is the game that their passing attack starts coming to fruition. So as soon as the Aggies can stop the run of the Warhawks, that offense is dead in the water, and so are the hopes of ULM coming home to celebrate another SEC win.
Yeah, Jimbo Fisher gets the elbow dropped on him by Miami last week. Probably not in the best of moods coming back to College Station. Shane, does a grouchy Jimbo Fisher and a desperate Aggies mean instant loss for ULM, or do the Warhawks have something under their sleeves with the wily Terry Bowden at the helm?
I'm with Tibbs. I don't think ULM has the offense to hang around in this one. And like you said in your intro, there's the Sun Belt history of upsetting the Aggies. Unfortunately for ULM, that happened last year, and I'm sure every Aggie has heard about that all week. And they will not let it happen again.
Yes, there's a bad taste that they probably want to wash out of their mouths. I do believe the Warhawks will acquit themselves quite honorably in defeat. I do. I think the Warhawks have a defense that's a little bit flying under the radar. At that same time, gentlemen, the same time we see that kickoff between the Warhawks and the Aggies, we have a game here that I don't know, probably just as interesting. Maybe there's some revenge factoring going on. Tulane at no, that's not right. No, isn't Southern Miss at Tulane?
Nope, that was there last year when they upset them on their home turf.
I got it right. Tulane at Southern Miss, 3 p.m. ESPNU. The Green Wave are given a 13-point spread. Yeah, the Green Wave have looked pretty good, even in that loss against number 20 Ole Miss, where they were leading for quite a bit. Of course, they get punished by the AP. One loss when you're the G5, you get one loss, you immediately get bounced out of the poll. But whatever, we don't have to talk about that. Southern Miss not looking particularly great these first 2 weeks. The Southern Miss and Tulane, do they have a good game? And I'll leave it up to you, Tibbs. Tibbs, tell us, is this going to be a good game at all?
Possibly.
Okay.
So Michael Pratt was out last week for the Tulane Green Wave when they played Ole Miss, but he's back this week. Mm-hmm. Is he 100% though? Also, can Southern Miss shake that beat down they took in Tallahassee to move forward, knowing that Frank Gore showed that he might be human after all? He's not the freak that we're used to seeing.
Yeah,
I think those are the big questions that have to be answered. I lean heavily, though, towards the Green Wave, getting the bell back and taking it back to New Orleans.
So does Tulane get that sweet, sweet revenge? The Southern Miss, one of two teams to beat them last year. Shane, what do you think?
I think 13 points is a pretty hefty line. I think Southern Miss is going to cover, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tulane gets out of there with a victory. But, Southern Miss took it on the chin against what I think could be the best team in the country so far with Florida State. I don't know if we know anything about Southern Miss from that game, but we do know Southern Miss beat Tulane last year. I think it's going to be close. I think, the Rock is going to be rocking, and it's going to be a close one.
Now, did Southern Miss pay you to say the Rock is going to be rocking? Are you getting a little money under the table for that?
No, I should have.
Let's send an invoice. Let's see if they pay it.
Yeah.
All right, 2 hours later, we got to wait for the next wave of games. I don't know if this game's interesting or not. Simply because I don't really follow Charlotte very much. But it's Georgia State at Charlotte, 5 p.m., ESPN Plus. The Panthers, 7.5-point favorites, probably based on the strength of Darren Granger right now. The guy's just playing lights out. Yes, Marcus Carroll, the Panthers running back, he had a very strong game. 3 touchdowns on 100 yards rushing against UConn. Charlotte had a quick start against Maryland last week, but then they kind of fell unceremoniously 38-20. I think they scored the first 2 touchdowns and then run out of gas. I honestly don't know what to expect from this game, guys. Shane, what do you think?
I mean, I'm still not very high on Charlotte. Their new coach, Biff, is quite a character.
Yeah.
But I think this is a game that Georgia State should win. It was a game Georgia State definitely should have won last year, and they didn't, so we'll see what happens.
That sounds like the ultimate assessment of the Panthers. Tibbs, do you agree that the Panthers should win this game and maybe won't?
Very much so. But I think that Georgia State, at least early on, looks like they've kind of turned the corner. I know that they haven't necessarily played the most impressive schedule so far, but they are sitting at 2-0, having won a close game against FCS Rhode Island, and then kind of had that blowout somewhat win over UConn. Maybe this is Georgia State kind of turning the page, turning the corner, and they're able to get it done against Charlotte. I think it all depends on Darren Granger and what kind of game he has, though, because that seems to be their biggest offensive threat. And how he plays, once again, is how good or how bad the Panthers could be.
I tell you what, if the Panthers do win this game, they're 3-0. I don't know if that's their best start ever. I'd have to look back, but it's a great start regardless. That should probably give Sean Elliott a lot of confidence, a lot of head-butting confidence going into conference play. So that'll be an interesting game to watch and see what happens. 6 p.m. ESPN Plus, and guys, the Big 12 Network. If you tune in, you're going to see South Alabama at Oklahoma State. This is kind of a surprising line to me. 7.5 points for the Cowboys. South Alabama not playing particularly well, waiting for them to wake up. Kind of thought that defense would be a little bit stronger. Kind of thought Carter Bradley would be playing at a higher level. Oklahoma State, maybe struggling a little bit, although they are 2-0, but they haven't looked fantastic in either win. The South Alabama have a chance, Tibbs, of beating that 7.5 point spread and possibly even beating the Cowboys.
I like to think so.
Ooh.
But I can't bring myself to pick the Jaguars right now. 2 weeks in, and I'm already heartbroken. I'm drinking the Alka-Seltzer, eating Tums like there's no tomorrow. Damn it, Governor. You have me throwing in the towel already.
Oh, no. I hate it when these things happen to you, Tibbs. It's like your spirit gets crushed. It's just hard to witness. It's like watching a man lose his faith. Shane, bring him back to the light.
This is when we see the South Alabama we thought we were going to see. They last week was the FCS. It was FCS, right?
Yeah.
They played. Yeah. They probably didn't show a whole lot.
No.
They were mad about the Tulane game. They've been looking at this one. Oklahoma State's not that good. They're okay. They're not that good. South Alabama is going to have an opportunity to kick a game-winning field goal in this one, and they're going to kick it, and they're going to celebrate a Power 5 victory.
Oh, okay. I believe who's their kicker? Diego something, right? I know he has a fantastic name. But, okay. I bet Tibbs, that should make you feel a lot better, having Shane's endorsement of the Governor.
I like the subtle jab, referencing back to last season's heartbreaking loss.
Mm-hmm. Very clever from the Pulitzer Prize writer right there. Very nice. All right, at the same time, guys, the Blazers come in for a double dip of Sunbelt beatdown, right? Louisiana at UAB, 6 p.m. on ESPN+. Blazers favored by 3. The Trent Dilfers favored by 3 over Louisiana. The Cajuns kind of look, the 2023 Cajuns kind of looking like the 2022 Cajuns right now. Can UAB, 1, rebound from that loss to Georgia Southern? And 2, can the Cajuns kind of find, I don't know, some mojo behind Ben Wooldridge and find a way to douse those Blazers?
I think the bigger thing to watch on this game, we know the Cajuns lost last week at Old Dominion. This one's at UAB. Is this a team that can only play at home? I think it's still too early to kind of make that determination, but I think that's the bigger key to see. We know they have the talent. We don't know what happened last week with that secondary where Old Dominion was just scorching them on the deep ball. But you definitely got to think that Coach Dez got that straightened out for this upcoming third week game and the big game against the Americans UAB. I like the Cajuns, but I'm also kind of keeping them at our arm's distance to see, are they a team that can play on the road?
Shane, is Mike DeJormo? Is he
DeSormo?
DeSchmo? Is he kind of on a hottish seat if he doesn't perform well against UAB?
I don't know if he's on hottish seat in week 3, but I think the Cajuns need to win this one just to get that mojo you were talking about back. But UAB kind of needs to win this one too. I mean, it's they're both coming off what I think is probably disappointing losses to their fan bases last week. Although, I'll say it again, I think Georgia Southern has performed as well as anybody in the league right now. But I'm sort of with Tibbs. I think it's going to be close. I think the line's probably pretty appropriate. If Louisiana can kind of tighten up that pass defense a little bit, I think they've got a good shot of getting back on track in this one. Yeah,
isn't it strange? I mean, I know Tibbs and I, we've been in the Sunbelt community for a long time and kind of think of the Cajuns as a team, a defensive team. And the last 2 years, not quite meeting up that Cajun standard. So, be interesting to see if they can finally shore up that defense and put out a good defensive effort. Also at 6 p.m. No spread given for this game. I'm sure there are places that will give you a spread. I couldn't find a spread. Duquesne, am I pronouncing that right, Tibbs?
Duquesne.
You are.
Duquesne. Is this a Louisiana school? Duquesne?
It is not.
It is.
But you can see why I would think that.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
Come on, it's a weird name, and weird names come out of Louisiana. It's Duquesne. Duquesne at Coastal Carolina, 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Coastal coasted to victory over Jacksonville State. And behind that, maybe not a spectacular effort from Grayson McCall. He had 260 yards and a touchdown. We were talking about it last week. If the Shants could win every game by 1 point, they probably would do it. They just seem very casual right now. I suspect they're going to beat Duquesne by more than 1 point. But I don't know. What do you think? Is there any challenge that from Duquesne, Shane Mettlen?
I don't think so. Yeah, the Shants are going to roll in this one. Grayson McCall throw for 400 and some yards before he leaves in the fourth quarter.
All right.
Duquesne, by the way, is in Pittsburgh.
Oh, of course.
They are the one of two Division I schools known as the Dukes.
Ooh. All right. Yeah. Is there any more weird knowledge you want to drop about Duquesne?
No, not really.
Tibbs, do you have anything to add to Shane's penetrating analysis of Duquesne at Coastal Carolina?
The Dukes took a whooping last week at West Virginia, 56-17. They're going to take a whooping this week on the beach on the teal field.
All right. I think Shants win. I think they win in an unmemorable fashion, though. There's something about the Chants that are kind of boring this year. Speaking of boring, Stony Brook, the Seawolves, visits Arkansas State, the Red Wolves. 6 p.m. ESPN Plus. No spread given, or at least no spread that I could find. Both are 0-2. I believe the Seawolves lost 9 games last year, and I believe that's how many games Arkansas State lost. It's almost like that Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other. That's what Stony Brook and Arkansas State might be. Just two programs, desperate for offense, desperate for victory, meeting up in Jonesboro. If Arkansas State loses this game, the closest that's ever come to a riot over a football game in Jonesboro may have. Tibbs, will that riot happen?
It was several years ago.
Okay.
That the Seawolves went into Baton Rouge and won a super regional even over LSU to advance to the College World Series.
Yes.
They're going to do the same thing in football this weekend, as they're at least averaging 2 touchdowns a game to Arkansas State's 1.5 over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I picked the upset and the Seawolves.
Here's the thing. For all season long, I've been saying this mantra: the Sun Belt does not lose to the FCS. And it can finally personally bite me in the ass. Shane, do I need to buy some ass insurance?
No. The Red Wolves are going to take it out on the Seawolves. This is going to be Arkansas State will have at least one victory this year.
Okay, thank you.
And it'll be this week.
Okay. Well, at least we'll have the win over Stony Brook, who have won 5 conference championships in their time in the CAA, maybe. I can't ever remember which is which. But it's not like they don't know how to win. They've started playing football in 1984. See, I'm reaching into my Shane Mettlen bag of trivia and coming out with the pieces of information.
They have a kind of cool stadium.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I think they get bigger crowds for lacrosse than they do for football, though.
Lacrosse is a fun sport to watch.
Yeah, they like it on Long Island. Did you know that's where Stony Brook was from?
No, had no idea. I knew it was some fancy East Coast team. That's all I know. Probably, where people drink tea with their little fingers extended. I know how it is on the East Coast, Shane Mettlen.
Yeah.
This Southerner knows how it works. Yankee transplant, turned Southerner. This next game, guys, this is important to say this, is the O'Douls Maintain Your Edge Game of the Week. James Madison at Troy, 6 p.m. inexplicably on the NFL Network. Trojans inexplicably given a 2-point advantage by Vegas odds makers, which pretty much means it's a push, right? The undefeated Dukes coming off that fresh victory over Virginia, rewarded with 1 vote from the AP. Congratulations, Duke. Your hard work earned you 1 vote. Well done. Now Curt Cignetti can bring his disdain for humanity over to Troy, where he meets John Summerall, who's probably a little, I don't know, either seething or crestfallen after the brutal loss to the Kansas State Wildcats, who aren't bad. Gunnar Watson, he threw another interception that game. Ended up either getting lifted or injured. I'm not sure what the story was. You can pass on the Dukes secondary. That is the only thing you can do against the Dukes. Do the Dukes king themselves, though, in Troy? I'm going to throw it to Mettlen because Dukes are his boys.
I have no idea. I really don't know how this one's going to play out. It's Curt Cignetti was not happy yesterday after
He's
practice.
Never happy.
He was more unhappy than usual.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a tougher game than Virginia was.
Ooh.
And they didn't play very well, and they squeaked by against Virginia. They'll have a tougher time at Troy, but they may be prepared to play a little bit better. I'll go with JMU pulling out a close one, but they're going to have to show some improvement to do that.
Now, Tibbs, this is sort of like old Shane putting on the old JMU modesty here. Do you think that I feel like Troy's in a little bit of trouble? I don't know why. I just don't feel like Troy is the same Troy it was last year. Are they going to put up a good game against the Dukes, who just look stronger than ever?
I think it'll be a good game, like Shane said, like you implied. But I think this is the Dukes and Cignetti's chance to showcase, hey, this should have been the championship game last year since we won the Eastern Division. Let's do it again this year. And I think that's really going to be the mindset that Cignetti has going into this game. And I think because of that, he's going to have his players up, and James Madison's going to come away with the win. I think the bigger thing is to see, what does Kamani Vidal do, though? And can he rebound from kind of a bad showing there at K-State? Still currently leading or second in the NCAA in rushes per game or total yards on the season. Can he add to that total?
Yeah, the real interesting thing is, nobody's run the ball on JMU in a long time. Troy's going to want to run the ball, but that's not where JMU's vulnerable. Will Gunnar Watson be able to throw it and, make some noise through the air to kind of open it up for Vidal? Because just trying to power through running game against JMU has not worked.
Yeah, you got to be able to pass. If you can pass, you can score on them. But James Madison's going to score too, so maybe it's going to be a big shootout. I don't know. Here's what you should never do: is you should never underestimate the radioactive power of the chip that resides on Cignetti's shoulder. I think Tibbs is right. He's going to look at this game as this should have been the championship game from last year, and I'm going to show these clowns who runs the Sun Belt. That's what I think. And although, Summerall, I don't think he takes a lot of crap either. So it's just going to be hey, guys, this is why this is the O'Douls Maintain Your Edge Game of the Week. I mean, you don't win that distinction because it's a ho-hum mediocre game. But speaking of ho-hum mediocre games, the night closes with one. Although it's a very important ho-hum mediocre game for the Texas State Bobcats. After the big game, which resulted in a dispiriting loss to UTSA, a lot of injuries, Although GJ Kinney has said that the injuries may not be as bad as they seemed in his little in the press conference on Monday. Jackson State FCS program comes in to Bobcat Land, 7:30 ESPN2. I'm sorry, ESPN Plus, not 2, ESPN Plus. No spread found on this game. But is this the medicine that Texas State needs to get well again and be ready for the rest of the season? Tibbs, I bring it to you.
Viva. I think the fighting Brant Freeman's rebound nicely this week. I think it's important that they kind of put the game away early because, as you said, they have some injuries. So they're going to have some holes that they need to kind of play around with personnel, see what they have in those second, third string roles, maybe shift some guys around, just kind of see what that looks like in game situations. Perfect time, perfect game, Bobcats roll.
Shane, do you agree with that? Do you have any
Agreed.
devil's advocacy there?
No, I mean, just you may have heard Jackson State lost some people from last year. They had a coach. I can't remember his name, but he is not there anymore. The couple of other guys went with him. So it might not be the kind of Jackson State team that's been there the past couple of years. It's going to be an opportunity, for Texas State to keep some guys healthy and keep some guys who aren't healthy off the field no more than you need them as they pull away in this one.
Whether or not Jackson State's the same Jackson State it was last year, Texas State wins this game. I feel like the mood out of San Marcos is going to be unnervingly positive. Like I'm kind of used to sort of a downtrodden mood pulsating out of San Marcos. Is sort of, oh, I got another Texas State season. I feel this, if the win comes out on Saturday, so if the Bobcats start 2-1, I think they're gonna be feeling it, guys. I think they're gonna be feeling like maybe the Sun Belt West is something they can attain. We shall see. And guys, I want to applaud you for our 100th episode. We've concluded yet another successful episode of Second and Short. Yes, congrats.
Yeah.
And now to celebrate that.
Oh, how are we going to celebrate, Tibbs?
Let's have some plugs, promos, and parting shots there, Jeremy.
All right. Well, I'm just going to go with a simple plug. The Second and Short content is brought to you by Hellraiser. I'm bringing it. Hellraiser.com, the place I work with. Hellraiser.com. They went ahead and forecast and previewed and provided penetrating analysis for all 13 games. Check it out. We got a good preview of the Sea Wolves versus the Red Wolves. Take a look at that. Give me some hits. I'd appreciate your patronage, and I thank you very much.
Shane, what do you have?
I have a parting shot.
Ooh.
Just to talk about X League of Japan American football. Boogie Knights Soft Drink Challengers opened up their season with the 17-13 win against the Tokyo Gas Creators. Two of the best names in sports, with the very best name in sports, Boogie Knight, getting off to a good start. I told you I was going to be a fan of the X League, and I'm following along.
Your strange Japanese fetish is flourishing here on FunBelt PC.
Plug, as always, warhawkreport.com. Active message boards with all the Warhawk fans giving their insights on how they think this week's Texas A&M game is going to go. Maybe it's a parting shot.
Okay.
If I were to ask you, what quarterback in the Sun Belt is currently leading the overall total offense responsibility?
So we each get a guess, right?
Sure.
All right, let me think about that. I think it's probably a toss-up between Darren Granger and TJ. Oh, who's the guy for Texas State? TJ
Finley.
I'm going to go with TJ Finley.
I would think it would be Darren Granger, but the fact that we're asking the question makes me think it's somebody else.
TJ Finley, number 6 overall,
Okay.
averaging 249.5 a game. Darren Granger, number 3, averaging 265 a game. It is the Raging Cajun, Ben Wooldridge.
Whoa.
293 yards average a game. The difference between him and Bryn Davis, number 2, Bryn Davis only 17 rushing yards, Wooldridge 78 rushing yards.
Wait a second. Is it Davis Bryn or Bryn Davis?
Davis Bryn.
Okay, thank God. Because I've been calling him the wrong thing. But all right, so that's a little bit of a surprise. Ben Wooldridge.
It is.
Yeah.
And makes me think that the Cajuns can have a solid showing.
So
moving forward in the season.
Maybe I personally have been too hard on the Cajuns. I just feel like the Cajuns should be a little bit better. But they're not. Who is, to you, Tibbs, before we sign off, who is the most, even after 2 weeks, it's very hard to make this assessment, but which team is worrying you the most in terms of they're not quite meeting expectations?
Arkansas State, honestly. Okay,
great.
I mean, the Oklahoma game, okay, yeah, I didn't think the Red Wolves were going to get the win, but I didn't think that they were just going to be absolutely beat down and hung out to dry there. I expected them to at least have a little bit better of a showing, and it just hasn't happened yet.
That's fair enough. Shane, who are you looking at and saying, I thought these guys are going to be world beaters, and that's not happening?
Yeah, the Arkansas State choice makes sense to me.
Yeah.
If I got to go to a different angle, even though I picked them to turn it around this week, I'll go with South Alabama. I've been disappointed with what we've seen out of South Alabama so far, but I don't think it's going to last.
Yes, South Alabama's my pick on that. And it's, you know what, Tibbs, I understand the hurt that you have for the Jags, and I'm feeling that hurt too. I'm with you. I think Shane is kind of a big man, doesn't like to show his feelings, but I think he's hurt by the Jags too. And I think maybe this should become like a men encounter group where we beat a bongo and just scream Jaguars or Jaguars or Jaguars as loud as we can into the night and let the healing begin.
I'm going to go eat a can of yams in hopes that writes the curse.